and the grace of God was upon him. Now, if you look at it in the ESV, it says, and the favor of God was upon him. In other words, the condition of your spirit decides the favor you enjoy. I want you to begin to take care of your spirit. Hallelujah. That's why what kills one person doesn't kill the other person. It was their spirit. They are both born again, but their spirit. For instance, I can be born again and don't brush for 10 weeks. What will happen? The breath will be fungal or bacterium or whatever. And before long, I start losing my teeth. Now, I'm born again, but I'm losing my teeth. Why? I didn't take care of my teeth. Same way with your spirit. So if a man lives to 80 and another lives to 40, I'm not saying maybe someone was executed or whatever accident, but the reason why one lived long was his spirit. Longevity is in the spirit. So there are lots of people who keep wondering, I don't know why my life is the way it is. I don't want my life. See, child of God, let's take care of our spirits. I know I'm here to teach about grace, but you can see that in Luke 2 verse 40, that Jesus, who had a strong spirit, the grace of God, the favor of God was upon him. That's why even if you look at your life, the day you pray, all right, and you spend time with God, you'll find out that day seems to be a lot better, more favor, things are a lot easier. Why? Grace was upon you. Then the day you don't pray, you find your attitude is anyhow, things are just going wrong. Why? It's your spirit. Everybody carries their own spiritual atmosphere. So you must learn to create your own spiritual atmosphere. And there are things you can do to make your spirit strong. I know we are going to Ephesians 3, but I need to stress this. There are things we can do. See, let's look at a few things. For instance, in Proverbs 18 verse 14, look at it in the Amplified Version. It says, the strong spirit of a man sustains him in bodily pain or trouble. So the reason why someone died in sickness was their spirit. Somebody loses his job and suddenly dies. Have you seen it happen? Because the spirit wasn't strong. Somebody loses his job, his wife dies. In fact, I didn't know that God has strengthened my spirit by his grace. When my parents passed on, my mother March 3rd, 2025, my father April 10th, and I was wondering that I wasn't crying like I would have wanted to cry. But several years before that, listening to Andrew Womack, and he was talking about selfishness is the source of all grief. Especially if the person is a Christian. So if you're crying and crying, so you're a selfish person. Because number one, the Bible tells them to sorrow like those who have no hope in the world. See that? So when a believer dies, they've gone to heaven. So why are you crying for them? So it says some of you, something happens in your family, you fall apart like a $2 suitcase and you start crying and you're always crying. And it dawned on me that, boy, that message got to me. I've grown. So the true test of your spiritual condition is your ability to manage crisis. How do you respond when trouble happens? And this is a young man. I used to be a crybaby. If you knew me, I was a crybaby. And like, what happened to me? I remember listening to a lady, and Nancy Dufresne, and before her husband died, God started teaching her that when she learned how to maintain her peace even in the midst of challenges. And she didn't know why God was telling her that. And her husband died, and God told her not to cry. Her husband died. Nigeria, they would have called her a witch. But let's go on. So she didn't cry. Neither did her children cry. She has not wept till today. What? So when she said that, I began to think. I said, wow, that means I really need to feed my spirit strong and maintain my peace. I didn't even know what was coming. So when it happened, the only few times I almost cried, was when I was telling their story, and it will get to you. And the second time was when I saw Dr. Wick and his wife, that they came all the way to see me in the hotel, and I was surprised to see them. So, but say, no, I was strong. You see that? So the thing is, you need to strengthen your spirit. But a weak and broken spirit, who can raise up or bear? In Proverbs 15 verse 13, now it's going to tell you what breaks your spirit. It says, a merry heart makes a cheerful countenance, but by the sorrow of the heart, what did he say? The spirit is broken. It says, if you are someone that likes to meditate on the pain and trouble that comes your way, your spirit will be broken. And some people like to do that. If you know what happened to me today, if you know what I went through today, they will tell everybody today. If you know the pain I've been through today, and today, it says you break your spirit. And when sickness comes,